It's a drizzly morning, so also yesterday I saw this new plant, that is that Ixora malabaricum, I think it's called. So I thought I'll cover it today morning. I just got the identity, so I'll show the plant, and if there is anything interesting later I'll make one more video on this species. It was somewhere around here. This is a place where old trees have been cut, and but after that it has not been disturbed for many years, and few bigger trees also are there, the old original trees, not invasive ones. So it is a kind of a somewhat revived place. And here I saw this plant yesterday somewhere. So this will become a long video because I'll have to search it out now once again. That side there's a very nice sacred grove where I did all the begonia videos. Sometimes I encounter the first plant and take some photo, and then first specimen what I have seen of a particular species. Then I get it identified. Afterwards, sometimes relocating the plant becomes an issue. If it's only one isolated plant, this one was somewhere around here only. Nicely, undergrowth is quite nice because some semi-canopy has come. In this patch I found quite a few nice plants. I think I missed it. Anyway, this nice pothos candles climbing beautifully onto that tree. It's gone quite high there. For a person who's plant blind, all this is, there's no differentiation and segregation in the mind when you look at it, the different species. The first step towards plant observation is to train your eye to see the differences in the shapes and colors and textures of different leaves. Each species has some distinctive color, leaves, and then some texture and all, and then shape. So after a while, when you just one brief glance is enough. If you have a known species, you will immediately, the name can be recalled. The only way to acquire this skill is to regularly look at plants. Trees also, they have their characteristic shapes. So characteristic shape in the in ideal location. So that gives a good idea. This plant has disappeared. I have to come again and search for it. So for these plant blind people, there is all one mass of greenery. It's exactly like when you encounter new, if you go to faraway culture place, like for example, for Indians, if you go to China or Japan and all, initially everyone looks quite alike. Then after a while, your eyes can get used to the basic difference in the look and all, and then small note changes in the people's features and all start to segregate in your mind. Then you can make out, oh, I mean, each person is unique. Even similarly with these identical twins and all, they look the same initially. Then if you regularly interact with them, you will notice that they are having a lot of little differences. Then another example is people who are not that familiar with cars and all those different models, they all look the same. All have four wheels and they zip around. But after your eyes get used to it, then if you go on looking at those cars, then after some time, each car, which model, all that becomes that registered in the mind, and then the segregation can happen in the eyes. I mean, you look at it, you can say, okay, it is this one or that one. Same way it is with birds, insects, all of them. You have to first have a good look at the subject matter. And here, if it is plants, start looking at when you encounter new plant, touch the leaf if you can, and then you notice the shape correctly. When you touch it, you get a kind of a direct connection with that species, how the leaf feels and all that, and then it gets registered in your mind nicely. And then you should also observe where exactly it has occurred, what kind of location it has a tendency to settle down and grow in. Then in such locations you will start noticing it. This is an old stump. Since I couldn't relocate that Ixora malabaricum, I'll cover this. These old stumps are fascinating things, and this is one of not the invasive species, it's one of our native species. What is that? Ant nest, I think. And then one more thing I noticed, these mosses and all are more in the native species. Some of these exotic ones, like in this region, the invasive trees are this acacia and all, they all don't gather this type of mosses. And then this moss also, it's not a much studied subject. So there must be plenty of species to be identified, discovered and all. It's a good subject for people who are want to go deeper. It's a whole field by itself. Thousands and thousands of these mosses are there, and they have their own niches. They occupy certain conditions only they can survive. Certain species they are dependent on. And these mushrooms, these also, they can't just settle on any random tree and start the process of decomposing it, but they have some specialized requirements. So certain species attract certain of these mycorrhiza or whatever, and that's also one more vast subject which has not been much studied. The less disturbed the place is, the more native species it will have, and then these native species, they are come with associated life forms, their own mycorrhiza and kind of insects and mosses they host, and then little isolated smaller species that occur in such in a more, I mean, when a place gets disturbed, it is the entire plant community over there changes off. This is wood only, I think. This moss is beautiful. This is that Elephantopus scabber. It forms a nice matted this thing and tolerates a lot of shade also. So I can see some good potential as a gardening plant. It's easy to multiply also. You can just take one on segment like that, and it's self-propagating, so it spreads on its own. Each of these has the potential to become a new plant. It's a nice species. It keeps the ground cool, and when direct rain comes and hits the ground, if there is no green cover, the soil gets washed away. So very beautiful species. Quite a big patch here. Nowadays I started looking at the millipedes, and the more I look at them and start thinking and observing them, thinking about them and observing, they are a very fascinating group of creatures. The nice thing is they don't bite, so, and also they don't fly away like these butterflies and moths and all. They're easier to photograph and all, and they are very good indicators of the health of that area, ecological health. Because what I noticed in the roadsides and all, there is one variety of millipede that you see. Then in the more denuded places, their population drastically falls off. There's nothing for them to eat and all that, they vanish fast. But in this kind of location, quite nicely protected, and then there's that sacred grove there. In this kind of location, I think the diversity should be very high. Many of those very sensitive species, they can only survive in these kind of places. If you cut off these trees, they're gone. So if a sufficient study of this millipedes is done, just by looking at the millipede population, one can get an idea about the overall health of a place. This is one plant that is, I think it's one of that Psychoteria. I had covered one like this last year in a similar location. Leaves are nice, shiny leaves. The flowers have a stink. Some funny smell is there in the flowers. And then when the fruit has developed, the stem becomes yellowish. That's one unique feature of this. The black berries are there, and this one only survives in shady areas. Full shade should be there, undisturbed, and then they like the canopy. In the early stages, this is green. Finally, it becomes yellow like this. This also I couldn't get the correct identity of this species. Sacred Ixora. So I think today's main purpose has been defeated because I just couldn't find that. That Ixora malabaricum. I have to come once again, search it out, and then register the place in my mind so that I can visit later few times to see how the seeds look and all that details. And any species, when you get an idea about it and you can identify the look, then you try to get the identity of that species. Then with internet, all other details are available. After that species, whenever you notice, you have to look at it. Different seasons, what happens, how the leaves dry, how the flowers form, which month, all such things. Slowly it becomes a small encyclopedia in your mind. And then you can move on to other species. It's such a beautiful plant, but completely disappeared somewhere. It was there in this stretch now. 2 times I searched, but it has escaped. Basically, I'm circling the periphery of the outside the last section of that sacred grove. About almost half kilometer from here, the core is there next to the stream. Then there is a kind of a border area where the trees are not that old, but anyway the significant species are there. You can call it as 1 degree degradation, this section of the sacred grove. Then I am outside that now. And so this if an area is well preserved, it has one certain types of species. Then if it is a little bit disturbed, biggest trees are cut usually. Money is the motive. Then some set of plants disappear and a new set of plants will get prominence. Either those that are already there in a little subdued way, or others which are need that kind of environment, they'll come and occupy the place. Then if it is further disturbed, that I think is a second degree of disturbance. This is a third degree of disturbance. Still it's quite nice. The lot of forest species are still here because there's a good canopy, and then the native trees are there. There's no exotic trees in this, though one acacia has appeared there, whose children will now slowly try to penetrate. So in this third degree of degradation, in this region, lot of shade loving plants get in and they can manage. That is, that's Elephantopas can't survive in the fully canopied forest. Semi-canopied also it has difficulty. The third degree, where there is like this kind of place, this Elephantopas is there. Then lot of these curcuma karnatakensis, and then some of the psychoterias also, they can survive, few of them outside. And then some of the smaller species and all are there. Then if you go inside the outer section of the sacred grove, the density of that tree is increased, and then the canopy also is more. Canopy is quite more. Then underneath, another set of species get prominence. These begonias are there in here, but not there outside. Begonia and then that habenaria, both are there here in plenty. Then also this jivaka, that is the malaxis. Plenty of them are there, but they are not outside. This is the boundary of that secondary section of the sacred grove. Outside they are not there. So the degree of disturbance will cause changes in the plant profiles, plant species profile, and then from that an experienced person can make out quite a bit. Nothing, surprisingly not much of millipedes I could get in this area. The biodiversity falls down drastically with every degree of degradation, and I suspect even the kind of earthworms and millipedes, centipedes all start varying when the the disturbance, degree of disturbance increases. It's all interlinked. I think this video is one of my longest. Now I am entering the fourth degree of degradation. Here there is a lot of cashew trees have been planted. Native trees are not there. So this is a good place for invasive to come and occupy. In this section, acacia is a prime candidate. When the place gets disturbed, that's the one that comes and occupies. Our native trees can't compete with it. And then as the canopy opens up, there's more sunlight. Some grasses come. Then some of those climbers and all which need a lot of sunlight. They need something to climb onto. Like Ceropegia and all can occur in this kind of places. So with that I'll close this video.